Archaeology is considered to be the fifth gospel. You can touch and see that whatever it says in the gospel is real. Every time they dig, every time they turn a rock over here in the land of Israel, they find evidence that the word of God is true. After the establishment of the State of Israel, Israel immediately went and started to invest resources in archaeology. And the huge turn was after 1967 that in Jerusalem, the Jewish people could dig in both sides, in East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem. Today, there's no doubt that the land of the Bible is the homeland of the Jewish people.
Everywhere you set foot in this land, you're stepping on and through history. Thousands of years of layer upon layer upon layer of kings that have come and empires that have come and gone, prophets that have rose up and left. There's so much packed into this earth all around us in this place. And for me, it's a very empowering experience. Every time we unearth something in this land, we're connecting to the history and the heritage, and moreover, it connects us all the way back into God's original plan for this land.
We are in the place that everything starts. You find a site and you find the stories.
The exact thing that you're just talking about exists here, as you mentioned it in the text, thousands of years ago.
Truly amazing. You recently uncovered something that has been unknown for a very long time.
Oh, yes, it has been indeed a surprise.
This has been hidden in front of everyone's eyes for decades.
And nobody knew.
If you ask the question, what is the history of this land? The answer is this.
Exactly.
Incredible. And no one knew it was here.
Archaeology, it's important in all over the world. It's the proofs that people was here before. They can prove who was here and who wasn't. I love it.
Yossi, thank you for being with us. I want to start from the beginning and end, I guess, at the same time. Why is archaeology important? Why is it important generally and specifically in this country?
In history and archaeology, you really can feel sometimes that you are part of this story. You can feel the story when you find the proofs.
You're part of something bigger and something meaningful. Yeah.
Totally. Some people look the stories like they are mythology. When you visit a site like Tel Dan, 5 minutes driving from here, we find there an inscription that say Beit David, the house of David. If she's talking about the house of David,
then there was a house of David.
There was a house of David. It's not Jewish mythology.
There's more and more evidence that says these stories line up in this site, in 100 different sites across the land.
The feeling is incredible. And you can connect the stories, all the points, all the data. You leave something for the future, for other people to understand, to visit. This is what I am doing today in the NPA.
In Israel, the NPA, or National Parks Authority, often turns archaeological digs into public parks. But the governing body for all things archaeology is the Israel Antiquities Authority. They exist to regulate excavations and manage conservation. Anytime there's a new discovery, they're called to the scene to keep tabs and start digging.
In Israel, we take our archaeology incredibly seriously. So much so, in fact, that I can't tell you where we're going right now. We're about to meet with Joe Uziel, who's an archaeologist and a friend, who's going to open up the storehouses of the Israeli Antiquities Authority and show us a glimpse of all the incredible treasure that they have hidden away there.
All of these hundreds of thousands of finds originated in excavations all across Israel. Anywhere that you want to build a road here, build a building, you start moving the dirt, and there's a good chance that you'll find
this pops up.
archaeological finds. And that's what we have here. And let me show you one such example. I'd like to put you in the mindset that you were living in Jerusalem 2,700 years ago, and you were an important official, and you had to send me a letter, and you didn't want anyone to open it along, but you would stamp that letter with your stamp on a little piece of clay. That's a bula, and that stamp would have your name on it. We actually get to know the important officials living in Jerusalem 2,700 years ago.
So you learned their names, you learned their practices.
On this one, we have this really cool name. It's not your run-of-the-mill name, okay? It's Natan Melech. It's a very specific name. His title is Eved HaMelech, the servant of the king. If we go back to the biblical text, we see that in Josiah's time, there is an important official, Hasaris, the chamberlain, whose name is Natan Melech. But because of the uniqueness of the name and because of the position and because of the period, we can be pretty sure that we're talking about that same figure who's mentioned in 2 Kings, who appears here on our archaeological finds in Jerusalem.
Elishkat Natan Melech Hasaris. There's a name on that little stamp that is the guy that's mentioned in the Bible thousands of years ago.
We are relatively certain that it's the same official. Yes, it's the same person.
Or an amazing coincidence.
Thank you for joining us as we provide a spiritual insight of what God is doing in Israel and in the Middle East. If you want to learn more about what God is doing in Israel, make sure to visit us on our webpage and follow us on social media. Shalom, and God bless you from Jerusalem.